Limerance is a metaphysical thing, I often think, and it threads its way through family dysfunction. Limerance is a weapons-grade obsession with other people who you can't really be with romantically, but you can't stop thinking about them. And it blocks you from real love, and it holds onto you like an addiction. I see it as a giant, opaque, and toxic cloud that comes up between you and another person who has gotten loaded up in your mind with imagined qualities. It's as if that toxic cloud makes you see those qualities overlaid on a real person, and it makes them seem so profound and so brilliant, so uniquely matched to your soul, and it'll feel so real. But you're not seeing the real person, and on some level, you know you're at risk of creeping them out. You're objectifying them. So you develop this false self and gradually withdraw from any kind of authentic participation in any part of your life. People say limerence is a projection of who you really are or a projection of the divine, but sometimes I think the toxic cloud of limerence might be generated by the emptiness left by your parents' failure to truly see or love you. My letter today is from a man I'll call Daniel, and he writes, "Hi, Anna. When I was a child, my parents were emotionally unavailable in a very subtle and insidious way. I'm an only child, and they tried to love me unconditionally." All right, I've got the fairy pencil. I'm going to go through and circle things I want to go back to on a second reading, but let's see what's going on with Daniel right now. I had no emotional connection with them after about the age of 5. My dad had mental health issues that he hid from everyone, probably PTSD of his own. He lost 2 brothers in traumatic accidents when he was a kid. Honestly, I can't remember a single time he taught me anything. My mom was neglected by her own mother for not being pretty enough and always struggled with low self-esteem. Both were morbidly obese when I was growing up. Throughout my childhood, they made constant efforts to keep up appearances and hide their problems from everyone. In school, I was severely bullied and ostracized. And I had no one to turn to. I lacked the psychological or social resources to deal with it, and at home, no one was providing them for me. Besides, my mom started working again, and she had no time for me. She would often forget to pick me up from school or forget to go to my events and activities. She even forgot my first communion. I had no other kids to play with, and I was lonely throughout my entire childhood. By the time I was 11, we found out that my dad had secretly failed in his businesses, and we had to significantly downgrade our quality of life. The suffering and shame I saw in my parents was shocking. My mom became an alcoholic. I remember her taking me to a few AA meetings, and little me thinking, my mom is in a weird cult. And my dad fell into a severe, decades-long depression. I gained a lot of weight and was bullied and ostracized by everyone. I cried alone every night. Simply existing was torture. Long story short, my problems might have been less awful than other people, but nevertheless, I developed severe PTSD. For the longest time, I suffered from self-hate, severe emotional dysregulation, and a permanent sense of being separate from all others, hated, judged, completely alone. Whether those fears were true was irrelevant. For the longest time, I hated to exist, and I dissociated all the time. After high school, I became addicted to drugs, and my life fell apart completely. I failed college and was in a psych ward for a while. That was 7 years ago, and since that, I've been able to slowly heal. I'm 27 now, and I'm very proud of where I'm at. I've healed my core self-esteem. I have a career I love. I'm healthy. I have a big group of friends who cherish me, even if I can't see it sometimes. A while back, I discovered your content and realized so clearly it was complex PTSD all along. Since then, I've been doing the daily practice and started the courses. But I still have a lot of unhealed mental programming and emotional dysregulation. But the worst of it is the limerence. I've suffered with limerence all my life. And again, limerence is a sort of addictive, like obsession with another person, romantically, someone you can't be with. Since my very first crush, I've developed severe limerence for almost every girl I've liked. It's a curse. Throughout my adolescence, this led me to many humiliating public and painful rejections, adding more fuel to my core trauma. Until I was 19, everyone rejected me. Since then, if I'm interested in a girl, I feel a giant emotional and psychological wall preventing me from making any moves or showing any intent, even if I can clearly tell that she's also interested in me. And if they make the move, that triggers me and I get overwhelmed and terrified. Then I develop severe limerence, which interferes with my friendships and quality of life. Feeling limerent dysregulates and hurts me. I don't want to come off as a disgusting creep because that is not who I am. It's not my intention, and I don't need the shame I feel when I'm unable to even try. The only relationship I've had happened only because of very unique circumstances, which prevented me from developing limerence before we were both infatuated. And she had trauma of her own, so our damaged needs just matched like a puzzle. The only other woman I successfully got involved with had borderline personality disorder and was at least as damaged as me at the time, and my subconscious could see it. I know how valuable and special I am. I have so much to offer, and I'm kind of attractive, so it baffles me how my subconscious mind believes that no matter what, I will be rejected with disgust. My brain believes that, as a friend, girls think I'm a fantastic person. But as soon as it turns romantic, a switch will go off in them, and they'll think, I'm not interested, at best, or you're a disgusting creep at worst. And if there was something different or wrong about me that made me romantically undesirable to everyone, I feel branded like livestock, not him. Oh, that's an image. But consciously, I know the one with the broken switch is me. As soon as it turns romantic, my energy becomes weird and disgusting, he says. I'm making efforts to make myself as attractive as possible, and my core personality is already more than good enough. But I know that even if I became the most attractive guy on earth, this problem would still persist. And my limerence is such a nuisance. At this point in my life, I just start avoiding the person, not even looking in their direction. This has damaged group dynamics and caused some drama. I'm too old for this BS. It needs to stop. I feel like women with CPTSD and limerence can often at least get romantically involved with people because they don't need to be the confident one who approaches. I'm not longing for I'm just laughing. I'll get back to that in a minute. I'm not longing for a relationship, but it hurts that I've been unable to pursue girls I had genuine interest for, unable to even see if there's any interest back. I just become limerent and spoil it. I don't want to end up alone for the rest of my life. What can I do to make the limerence stop for good? All right, and that's from Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, what an experience. Now, I said at the beginning of this video, I feel like limerence is metaphysical sometimes. I can't help but feel that the inertia and hiding of your parents and hiding how bad things actually were, trying to put on a front. They tried to be good parents, but they sound like they had a serious disturbance in their ability to be themselves and express themselves in the world as themselves. And that somehow this got into you. And this is just a hunch. Now, I know you've been hospitalized, so I assume you've received the care of professionals. They've looked at your need for medication or diagnosis, and I'm trusting that that's under control because what you told me at the beginning, you had a really rough youth, and I'm so sorry. And now you're balancing out to be on your own feet. So first of all, Daniel, you're 27, and I know that that's like prime time to find a great love in your life. I don't blame you at all. But I also know that fairly, not so long ago, years-wise, you were hospitalized. I took some pieces out of this for the sake of YouTube, but you didn't even want to be on Earth anymore. Okay, that was 7 years ago, so you were 20. And so you've been able to slowly heal. So that right there, you've been able to slowly heal. First, I just want to say, bless you. That is amazing to go from where you were and the hardship of your youth to where you are now with good friends and work you like and healthy. First of all, just let yourself have that. That's really big. It's not nothing just because the relationship isn't there or because limerent feelings come up. And I hear you have a lot of really harsh, self-attacking thoughts that come up around trying to connect with somebody you're attracted to and possibly getting rejected by them, and all the stories you tell yourself about that. And I understand. And, you know, having that kind of difficulty in relationships is so common for those of us who grew up in households that were off and dysfunctional. This thing that, that there was secret business failings, And the morbid obesity, when things kind of blew up and the secrets came out and the way your weight went up and you got bullied even more, like, oh, kids are awful. Kids are awful around weight, I sure know that. But also when you start to have that self-hating energy, that low self-esteem, it's almost like people can smell it. I have a video called How People Can Tell You Have Low Self-Esteem, and kids are sometimes ruthless when they can sense that. And you got low self-esteem from no fault of your own. Like your family was going through this pain, your parents were not able to help you navigate that or, you know, prop you up while they were struggled with their own thing. But, you know, like losing money and going to AA is like normal adult stuff, actually. It does happen. It happens for lots of people. And I don't know if your mom stayed sober, but the fact that she went to AA is really positive. There's a statistic about businesses that fail early on. So it just seems like your parents kind of imploded in shame because they couldn't cope with having failures in the world that are fairly normal for people. So I don't know, the metaphysical part, it's just like I can't help but hear your story and sense that you somehow you were like the sponge who absorbed all of this. And that's just, you know, that's just something in my mind as I read your letter. I'm not a doctor or therapist, so you can take that or leave that or take it with a grain of salt. But so this failure started and you got into drugs after high school and got hospitalized. And then this 7-year turnaround. So now you have been watching videos and it sounds like complex PTSD to you. So if you think that's what it is, I hope you'll avail yourself of our programs here. And also there's like so many new and emerging therapies out there that you can use for complex PTSD. It takes research, like it's a lot and not all of it is clinically validated yet, or it kind of is. And people make pretty audacious claims for stuff that's out there, but the only way you can find out if something would help you is if you try it. I think of it as like there's 2 major categories of trauma treatments. Well, there's 3. One is talk therapy, you know, traditional talk therapy, which will often lead to medication and that's traditional, and it doesn't have the strongest track record of help for people with complex trauma. More effective is like body-based therapies, like somatic experiencing, or also exercise. You didn't mention whether this is in your life, but like martial arts, dance, yoga, kickboxing, things like that you're doing with other people and you're crossing the midline of your body, you know, like right hook, right? I've actually taken kickboxing. I know how to do that. But I did it because it helps regulate complex PTSD. And it totally helped me. It totally helped me. And I enjoyed it. And I got kind of strong in the core for a while there. And I haven't done it in a long time because now that I'm crappy childhood fairy, I have to really like pick and choose what I'm going to do for exercise. But exercise is a very strong medicine for complex PTSD. And it just seems like it really like affected your body if the weight gain happened and you were having a lot of shame around that. Then being strong and using your body with others, like feeling that connection to other people by doing movements together. And when I was in London recently, I taught them the hokey pokey. And the hokey pokey is actually an excellent group nervous system regulation exercise. And I wonder if that's maybe why why it was so successful is something they taught us in school and on ice skating rinks and things. It's just good for kids. Marching together, singing together, chanting together. There's a lot of things that people have been doing for centuries that help re-regulate the nervous system. So I think the nervous system gets dysregulated, and I don't know what's the cause and the effect, but this often goes with like a dissociation where you detach from things. Like drugs are like a push for dissociation, wanting to escape and get out. But what else is dissociation? Like overeating, limerance. Limerance is a escape and dissociation, where instead of having a relationship with a real person right in front of you, You're having a relationship with like a dissociated, imaginary version of somebody. And, with people you're limerent over, it really mucks up the actual face-to-face contact if they're a person who is actually in your life. And the face-to-face contact will tend to have very contrived, limited, masked communication from yourself. Whereas then in your mind, you have this, it's much more elaborate, it's much more direct. So there's this big disconnect between what you imagine and what you actually do. And what we actually do in limerence is so limited because there's all this shame. Because on some level, yeah, like you said it, and it's very harsh. I don't want to call you a creep, but it's like, am I being creepy? Am I being way too into this person? Is the fact that I fantasize about this huge connection leaking out of my very curt little appropriate communications here. Have you ever done that? A lot of limerent people will sit and try to think of the perfect text to send that tips their hand a little bit and invites the person to disclose, oh yes, I feel the same way. They will do that, but never so much that it's honest. It always has to be plausibly deniable that they felt that way. Oh, it's such like a crazy-making, deceptive, self-attacking way to exist in the world. The fact is, you're a young man. That you fall for women is as lovely and natural and perfect as it can be. It's a good part of you. It's life-giving. This is how children are made and families are formed. This is a good thing in you. And yet, it's loaded up for you with this bullying, rejection, and shame. So it seems to me, Daniel, that the job for you is to try to release those thoughts and feelings of shame and not of being a creep, one by one, line by line. There's a lot of ways people do that. I'll tell you how I did it. And it's through the daily practice. It's the technique. I'm always talking about it here. Forgive me for being a broken record, but you look in the comments when I talk about the daily practice. Like, a lot of people are benefiting from this. It's very simple. It's free. But it's a writing technique where you face your fearful and resentful thoughts and you release them or ask them to be removed by God, depending on what your belief system is. I'm a God person. And then you meditate for 20 minutes and rest your mind and let yourself recover from it. Isn't that cool? It's that easy. We do it twice a day. And it's the consistency that I think can be the challenge of staying with it and living a way of life where we acknowledge, like, we get overloaded with self-attacking feelings and, fear that other people are the best thing that's ever going to happen to us and fear we're not good enough for them. And we get that onto paper and we get some distance from those thoughts. And it gives us a chance to come back and be real, to come back and be in our bodies in present time and be where things are really happening. And so that course is always available down below in the description section. If you go down there below each video on my YouTube channel, there's 2, 3, 4 lines of the description section. It just shows you the top. Then you have to click that more little button at the bottom. It's like a link there at the end of the text. You click that and it opens up. I keep making that noise when I explain it. It opens up and you see many links and courses and, who am I and, what should you do first? And what should you do if you're in a crisis? And it's all there, but the daily practice is right up there at the top. It's a free course. And anybody can take it. You can learn it and try it in about an hour. And then there's more. There's FAQs involved in there. You can also learn it in my book, Re-Regulated, where I teach it in great detail. This would probably be the definitive way to learn it. You can get the book on Amazon, Anna Runkle, Re-Regulated. Check that out. If you've bought the book, everybody, please leave a review. A good one, if you would. But reviews really help show that there's, that a lot of people are getting a lot out of the book. So I'd appreciate that. So the book, the free course, the daily practice are how you can learn these techniques to start releasing this. Now, in the course, I talk a lot about this, but I'll just say, what I've learned from taking a class on the neurobiology of trauma is that thoughts and feelings need to be processed. But those of us who were abused and neglected as children often have difficulty processing thoughts and feelings. It just gets jammed. And that's what it feels like to me. Like there's just a lot in there and it's hard to get new information in. It's hard to interpret new information. Like, is this a red flag? Am I being ridiculous? And I hear that a lot in what you're having trouble with perception. I would guess that if you could sort of purge and declutter your mind and your heart of all these feelings and thoughts that have been jammed up in there for a while with all your shame, that you could start to have something new come in. And when people have less fear and resentment, it is so attractive. Like, that is the definition of cool, is somebody who isn't totally reactive to stuff and doesn't just like crumple and go inward into this like self-attack. It's somebody who has a center, who feels pretty okay, who can be themselves. That is what sexy is. And I wish that for you. It sounds like you have so much going for you. You need more freedom from what's in here. So give it a try. Give it a try. I was going to leave everybody with the signs of limerence. All right, I'll do that. Go to down below for the course, the daily practice, or go to my website, Crappy Childhood Fairy. Go to the free tools page. You can find the free course there. But I want to leave everybody with the signs of limerence. How far down the scale have you gone with your obsession with somebody, and what can you do? You can click on that list right here, and I will see you very soon.